Let's make Shogayaki, a ginger and pork stir fry. I make it as a quick and easy lunch, but really there's no wrong time for it as it's so easy to put together. I've made this on the channel before, back in the early days, but I think we could do better. After all, part of the fun of cooking is improving on the recipes that have come before. Previously I used a thinly sliced pork chop, which is pretty lean, but I went with a pork belly this time. Let's get started by marinating the pork in a large bowl with some ginger and garlic. Let's quickly peel those. That was quick. Set the garlic aside for a minute as we grate the ginger first. Give it a tap, grate the garlic. I didn't include garlic in my previous recipe, but it plays so nicely with ginger I couldn't leave it out this time. There we have our grated aromatics. To that we will add 2 tablespoons each of soy sauce and sake, 1 tablespoon of mirin for a little sweetness, 2 teaspoons of sesame oil for fragrance, and some fresh black pepper because why not? Break it apart, give it a mix. Make sure all the meat is coated like this. Set aside for at least 20 to 30 minutes to marinate. Next we will shred some cabbage with a slicer for the garnish later. Shred until you're happy with the amount you have. Yeah, that looks good. And let's soak that in some cold water. This will help it stay crisp on the plate later. For now, let's set it aside and let it chill. Who made this mess? With the garnish out of the way, let's prepare the 2 vegetables that will go into the stir fry, an onion and some mushrooms. These are a couple of eringi, which are trumpet mushrooms, but use what you have or what you like. For now, I'll set those aside and cut the onion. Let's cut in half so they're easier to peel, like this. Cut off both the stem and root ends. If we were dicing, I would usually leave the root end on, but in this case we don't need to do that. Slice into wedges. Break them apart, we don't want any big chunks. Set those aside. Back to our shroomy friends. I like to cut them in half, slice the stem, and slice the cap into pieces like this. Set those with the onions. And there we have the vegetables for the stir fry ready. So that's everything we need to make Shogayaki. Let's get out a frying pan and cook. Let's get out a large frying pan with high sides. Heat over a medium-high heat. Add in vegetable oil. Give it a swirl around until the whole bottom of the pan glistens. Make sure it's hot so we get a nice sizzle when we add in the meat. Stir and break apart. Once it gets some color on one side, give it a flip, or stir with a wooden spatula. Once it's cooked through, move it to one side, leaving a landing spot for the mushrooms and onions. Let those cook for a couple of minutes on their own. Stir it in, or toss it together. It's really much easier than it looks if you have a pan with high sides. Let that cook for a few minutes until the vegetables soften. Add in a tablespoon of oyster sauce, and a little sake to rinse any oyster sauce clinging to the spoon. We don't want to waste any of that flavor. Toss or stir, and let cook as we prepare the garnish. Cut a tomato into wedges. I actually don't like raw tomato, but the plate needs some color, so here we are. Now we can strain the cabbage, give it a few tosses, and let drain for a few minutes as the Shogayaki finishes cooking. Which, speaking of, the Shogayaki has developed a nice caramel color from the oyster sauce. This here is looking great, so let's get ready to serve. Place a little mountain of cabbage on one side of the plate, give it a little fluff if necessary. Add the Shogayaki on the opposite side, and slightly leaning on the pile. Add the decorative tomato, and a squeeze of Japanese mayo. Finally, a little sprinkle of sesame seeds. And there we have our Shogayaki stir fry. Best eaten with a little bowl of rice. It's so good, you gotta give it a try at home. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, and why not check out one of these videos next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.